imagine you are in a conference call or in a meeting, and you have just asked a question or you have made a suggestion. And here is the answer you get. At which point do you jump in? Where do you get uncomfortable to the point where you say, are you still there? Do you need additional information in order to make your decision? It can get quite uncomfortable for people who have a preference of always communicating. In many cultures, silence is a great way of expressing meaning and content. So, for example, it could mean I'm thinking things over, or I'm respectfully considering what you just said, but I will probably not go with that. Or just simply expressing that I need more time to think about this. We tend to just jump in. Actually, using silence as a practice for all of us is a really good way to appreciate other cultural preferences more. So the next time you speak with a friend or with a colleague or with a family member, it's actually quite interesting, that one, usually more difficult sometimes than with a colleague, just give them the extra time to respond. If they don't say something right away, don't just jump in. Wait, sit back, give them that extra consideration and see what happens. It could make all the difference. We all know about cultural awareness. We know about the multiculturalization of our environment. Globalization is impacting us every day. But what about us on a personal level, our interactions? We get the whole big picture, but when it comes to taking the knowledge and the awareness of the differences to the personal level, the person we're communicating with right now, or within the different context in that particular situation, what are we doing? Are we applying all that, what we know already? Probably not, because our own cultural preference usually overtake. So let's take that next step. Sometimes also when we see something, we make an assumption. For example, my grandparents had a farm in Germany, and we would visit quite often. And when my grandmother went outside, to work with the animals and all the other stuff that we did on a farm, she would put on a headscarf, like this. It's great, keeps you warm, keeps your hair clean. So what do you see now? I know when I put it on, I see something different in the mirror. My cultural experience comes into play, makes me assume something about myself. So what do you see? If you hadn't met me before, and this is the first time we meet, and I'm wearing the headscarf, and so what is your assumption about me? Just think about it. And so, now what do you think? Different? I know it's different for me. So it's just a question of, making assumptions, jumping to conclusions, just kind of thinking about that. There was a recent incident in Saudi Arabia where the US President and Michelle Obama went to pay their respects after the recent death of King Abdullah. And Michelle Obama was in compliance with the local requirements covering her arms and legs, but not her hair. Caused a lot of outrage. Some media were saying, oh, she really should have prepared better. She really should have covered her hair, pay more respect. And other media were saying, no, she was perfectly okay. She was actually making a statement about women. Well, whatever it was Michelle Obama's choice to adapt given the parameters, the cultural parameters. In that particular case, she was actually within the required cultural parameters of covering her arms and legs, but not necessarily her head. That's not expected of foreign women, but it is required of Saudi women. So we really choose. Every time we choose, do we adapt, do we not adapt? I was really excited when I first came to Switzerland. I really wanted to learn Swiss German. I wanted to fit in. Really learn it the proper way. I live in Bern, by the way, right now, which is different from Basel, which is different from Zurich. So it's a very special Swiss German that you have to learn. But I was really looking forward to it. But then very quickly, after I arrived, a friend of mine told me, oh, don't even do that. Don't even think about doing that. Because you will probably butcher the language. You will make fun of the language and the people. That's what they're going to think. So I was very disappointed, but in compliance. So I decided, okay, I'm going to drop it for now. And actually, I can understand that. I can totally understand the point that he was making. And I'm seeing it more and more now. So I'm going to really probably have to study for 10 years before I can be perfect and then make another attempt. But it was good to have that extra information. So again, we know all about the cultural differences. But at the personal level, in our interactions with each other, if we can just remember 3 things. The first is, don't jump in, don't jump to assumptions. Hold back, wait. The second is, check our biases. Check your biases. And then the third thing is, then decide to act based on what you have thought about, maybe giving yourself some extra time to think about. Cultural differences can make or break business, politics, relationships. But when we're mindful of just these 3 things we're just looking at, just kick ourselves up a notch to that next level of awareness in our interactions, it can make all the difference. Thank you.